RuneScape is a fantastic game. It is managed over time to not only continue to survive in a harsh MMO landscape, but even thrive. But that leads us to a question. What if RuneScape launched in 2024? Would it be successful? Today, I want to talk about something that I am completely and utterly unqualified to talk about, and that's RuneScape. Or at least something that I might be a little bit more qualified on, perhaps, because I've been playing it for a while now, because I got early access to the upcoming MMORPG, Brighter Shores, which just may very well be the spiritual successor to RuneScape, while RuneScape is still around. Before we get into the review of Brighter Shores, there's one really important thing that I want to point out here. This game launching today on November 6th is actually not a full 1.0 launch. This is an early access launch, meaning it's still not a fully complete game, although you'll probably see here that it's more complete than you might think. And they only plan for early access to be about 6 months anyway. The main reason why Brighter Shores is in early access is because there's a couple features they wanted to get in for 1.0. That includes PvP combat, special attacks on epic weapons, and their 5th episode. But the game will continue to update beyond the finish of early access as well. And more of that at the end of this video. But it's safe to say I went into this review with some expectations. What I didn't expect, as I was going through this, is to get freaking addicted to it. And I kinda did. This may very well be my RuneScape. As someone who skipped from Ultima Online to EverQuest to Star Wars Galaxies, I got to experience parts of what made RuneScape great, but missed the boat on the legendary MMO. I'm cautiously optimistic that Brighter Shores may actually end up being a sleeper hit specifically for this demographic of the more casual but still grindy players who are happy fishing, fighting, and crafting potions. But there are some caveats, and perhaps the biggest of them all is, why leave RuneScape for Brighter Shores? Brighter Shores is a new MMORPG releasing into early access today, November 6th, created by RuneScape's co-creator, Andrew Gower, and will be available for free, at least for hours and hours of gameplay for the first 2 big areas of the game. It is a point-and-click cozy MMO that doesn't take itself too seriously, but provides satisfying simple gameplay loops that become very addicting. Set in the land of magic, mysteries, fishing, cabbages, cute crabs, and terrible jokes. Okay, wait, so there's actually no voice acting in this game, but I think it's important to actually play out this joke for you with my terrible voice acting. Oh, mate, what I can do for you? Do we need 4 of you to make a whole master? No, mate, a quartermaster's an officer in charge of supplies. Way to kill the joke. Just like my voice acting just did. But you get it. It's bad jokes that they make you chuckle. They made me chuckle. The moment you open up Brighter Shores, the influence of RuneScape is pretty damn apparent. From its point and click, its time crafting and harvesting, to its auto attacking. I was pleasantly surprised by the world itself, which I'd actually been concerned would feel a little too claustrophobic or too small, was actually far more expansive than I expected. Now don't get me wrong, it's not big, gigantic open spaces, and I don't know how it will look once there are tons of people running about, especially since I only met one friend. But at least during my playthrough, I could pet the cats. And they purr. Brighter Shores introduces you to a touchstone story to begin the game. You are the newest recruit for the Hopeport Town Guard, a job complete with its set of tasks, like calling Binzy here sir, or not. Because he's Binzy, not sir. Even if he makes you do push-ups for not calling the captain of overcompensation, sir, I won't do it. As I began my journey, I found myself wanting to explore everything by inspecting it. There's little bits of flavored text all over the place, like this particular one for cats, which is perhaps the most honest statement ever said. And they deserve it. They deserve all the damn attention. Did I mention they purr when you pet them? And of course, the tongue-in-cheek ones, like the card for a child running about the city, the next generation of generic civilians. Venturing around the starting area as a newly named recruit, the most hopeful hope of Hopeport, despite having no skills to speak of, well, yet, I was already eyeing the cabbages. But before I can even really begin my training, some bloody goblins attack, and Binzi is freaking stressed or whatever. So I get sent to gather up the new recruits. There's just one problem. One of them has gone and lost their damn bow. Can't fight goblins without a bow. We don't have to talk about the fact that I won't be able to use a bow for several more hours of gameplay at this point. So I set off trying to gather up recruits and find the bow. A bow that must be near the beds somewhere, maybe in these chests full of all this loot that, you know, actually keeps respawning. But goblins, the goblins, but the loot, the refillable chests with loot. God damn, you know, all these chests with all the loot and carrying all this copper around it's really making me a bit tired. Maybe I should just, you know, just take a short nap. Oh shit, yeah, goblins. Yeah. We find the bow, give it to the new recruit, piss off Binzi at least one more time, pet the cat, and we're off to defend the city against the attacking goblins. This is where you get to see how combat works in Brighter Shores, and it's very simple. You can even say that everything you do before combat is perhaps even more important than during, at least in these early stages, because combat is point and click and happens automatically. You can exit combat, but you don't really control anything else within it, though you can move about. If you happen to have a health potion, like later on in the game, you'll be able to take a turn to drink one, and it looks like eventually, at a high enough level, we'll get abilities to use in combat. But right now, early on, it's very much just watch it happen and hope you win by auto-attacking and that you put in the right armor and gear. And that's part of where the tactical part of this comes in, because that armor and gear, the weapons that you use, and the info you learn about your enemy is actually pretty important. What you'll notice in all of this combat is that in each case there's different types of damage going in and out. My weapons have different damage types, and I have different resistances, meaning it's important to consider my opponent before engaging and make sure I'm not using the weapon that they're immune to or resistant to, and that I have the proper resistances to make sure that the combat swings my way. And even then, there's some chance here. You can miss a hit, you can get hit really hard, but still, it is pretty simplistic, but I still found myself actually having quite a bit of fun. And so by properly equipping my gear, we cleared out the city of goblins. But now we have another problem. Binzi went and let our commander get injured, and we need to make a potion. So we set off to do just that, introducing us to our first non-combat profession, foraging. On our way to gather kelp we need to make the potion, we meet a friendly crab who talks back. We get to see that for some weird reason, it's raining at the dock, but literally nowhere else. And the whole time, we're seeing all these things that will become a theme in the game. higher level nodes, fishing nodes and foraging nodes especially, nodes that are far, far above our level. They serve a very interesting gameplay purpose because when Brighter Shores is showing you these as you travel about, it's planting in your mind this desire to keep going. It's making you want to get high enough to be able to fish at the docks, making you want to be able to harvest that starfish. It makes you curious. You can see the goal ahead of you. It's simple, but it's oh so clever, and it works oh so well. So we get our kelp and we go to make our potions. This consists of a few steps, but it's essentially just pointing and clicking and allowing it to work. As with the rest of the game, it's just simple. It's all very, very simple. And that, in part, is what makes this so addicting. It has the same charm of RuneScape and Ultima Online in a way that might seem absolutely maddening to some, especially if you're used to more adrenaline-pumping games or even more in-depth tactical MMORPGs. But this particular gameplay loop isn't just tried and tested. It's been tried and tested for almost 30 years. And it's the core gameplay of one of the largest MMOs today in RuneScape. I think in a sense, playing Brighter Shores has made me appreciate the beautiful simplicity of RuneScape more than any number of videos or even short stints in the game to gather B-roll. It's simple but grindy. It's small but expansive. You get these little dopamine hits as you increase your skill. You get to harvest new things. You get to fight new enemies, many of which actually change in the area you're at, though you can down level them if you want. There's always something to strive for, a stronger enemy, a more complex recipe, a quest to complete, which, speaking of quests, they're a pretty big part of the game. Brighter Shores offers its fair share of quests as well to guide you along, as they're designed in a way that points you toward the end of the quest but doesn't put some giant flashing marker there. You have to figure and puzzle it out yourself, or perhaps more likely, once the game is out in the wild, follow a guide on the website. Although I do recommend just trying to puzzle it out a little bit, because it can feel rewarding when you solve this little puzzle yourself. Take, for example, a seemingly simple quest, going to help a guard at the gates only to find out that the swords they gave you aren't attuned. So you go to attune the swords only to find out, well, the obelisk to attune them is freaking broken. So now you need to fix the obelisk by finding the horn that has fallen off. And to do so, you need to figure out where it flowed down the stream. We don't need to talk about the fact that it took me over an hour to find where this stupid horn was because I was just trying to follow the stream where the downstream was. I found it, okay? Eventually. And now that once you have the horn and you're ready to wrap up this quest, you go to put it in its place, excited for your new weapons. And then it turns out that you actually need some ice magic to keep the horn in place. But good news, because there's a philosopher somewhere in town who knows about ice magic. You get the idea. Quests and puzzles that are simple but expansive, and they just slowly keep you going. The rewards for them are also pretty fantastic. And sometimes they have little bits to them, like you may need to take off your guard armor because the smuggler doesn't trust you. Other times you may need to buy some bacon from Kevin. Some bacon from Kevin. And while yes, the combat remains simplistic, the game does expand on it with helpful potions, stat potions, even experience potions and damage potions. All things that you make yourself and are all gloriously free of microtransactions, which might be a good way to transition over to monetization. Brighter Shores has no microtransactions. Instead, it offers you a first 2 zones with hours upon hours of content completely for free, and follows up with the Premium Pass. The Premium Pass will be $5.99 a month and repeats every 30 days, but you can cancel at any time. You can also get a 90-day pass for $23.99 for a one-off payment, or a 365-day pass for $74.99, again for a one-off payment. These premium passes include extra areas for the game, a unique character name, so instead of Redbeard Flynn 1, I would be Redbeard Flynn, exclusive armor dies, the ability to change your name, and player-to-player trading. And quite honestly, this feels like a very, very good deal in the current marketplace of MMORPGs. With no box price and a $5.99 a month subscription, that should get you access to more content. This is just, it's kind of the thing that you don't normally see in an MMORPG. There's also been talk from Andrew Gower in interviews that basically when you purchase the premium pass, you get that content. And I do not believe the content goes away, at least as far as I've seen in those interviews, essentially making the game kind of pay per episode. So you're just paying for extra content, which it just feels good. It feels like you're actually paying for what you would be paying for back in the day with older MMOs. And as soon as this game launches, I'm just going to purchase the full year pass. Because you know what? Even the full year pass, well, it's cheaper than a mount that has an auction house on it that may or may not cost $90 in another game. But talking about controversial things, there is one controversial part to this that I want to talk about. One of the most controversial parts of this game is that it will include idle leveling, essentially leveling up professions while idle or AFK or logged off. This will happen at a slower pace than actively playing the game. And the only part of this I tested was potion making, and I don't think it will be quite as intense or controversial as I originally thought. The way it worked, I had to prepare all the regions for a potion, and then I went to put them in the passive potion maker. Now I actually couldn't use it because I needed 26 potion making to even start it. But the idea would have been if I had 10 ingredients, I could sit at the potion maker and make them, which would probably take a minute or two, or I could leave them in the passive maker and it'd make them while I was logged out. That's essentially all it seems to be. I can see this as a nice little bonus for the game being kind of casual. And that's what I keep coming back to with this game. It's very casual. It's not a game that's asking you to devote all of your time to it, which I think is actually probably a good idea for them. And on that same note, I really hope this game works very well on Steam Deck because it seems like kind of the casual, cozy MMO that would be a lot of fun to just sit down and just, play, maybe while you're watching some TV. My biggest hopes for the future of this game are all about the content I've seen and the content that will be coming. I'm really eager to see how PvP works for the game and for the special attacks mentioned before, as well as how each of the additional episodes plays out and what professions will be added, as all of that has been confirmed. Will we get blacksmithing? Will we be able to make swords and armor? Having those skills join the current skills of fishing and foraging and cooking, as well as the guard path. Will we get other paths? Will we be able to expand into a magic path and things like that? This really does feel a lot like RuneScape in all of the best ways. And I can say with absolute certainty for me personally, after having played the game at this point, this will absolutely 100% be a cozy, chill MMO for me that I may jump into and play for a couple hours each week and then leave it. I think it'll be one of those games that I just kind of like, it just sits there as just something where I just want to relax and play something that's not very stressful. I'll probably play this. Maybe while watching a basketball game or something. You're basically just relaxing. Just a fun little way to get a little bit of those little dopamine hits that you get from playing an MMO and progressing, but without the stress of being in a raid or something like that. But the biggest question will be, can a game like that, can RuneScape launch itself in 2024 and be successful? And if so, can it do so while RuneScape already exists? No, mate, a quartermaster's an officer in charge of supplies.